Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. Today we did something different. We were actually live about 20 minutes before we were live on YouTube right now. So that was our pre-show. I don't think anybody was actually talking in the Rumble chat. You might notice the format has changed a little bit, and that's because Rumble had to go to vertical. Actually ends up looking better in my personal opinion, but you'll have to give me some feedback. We're doing something a little bit different at the end of the show tonight, but let's go ahead and say hello to chat before we introduce everybody. Who's out in YouTube land is JB and Spudgun, and Jack's here, so it's time to end the stream. and Green Badger Outdoors. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm joined, of course, as I am every Wednesday, with my favorite two people in the whole world. Terry DeMontis.
Hello.
And Genti Maxey.
Hello.
Jen, do people call you Jen or do people call you Jenny? Do you have a preference?
It's usually Jen.
Usually Jen? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Jenny was usually somebody who was like, I have a preference for the name Jenny. And I was like,
Jenny.
Okay. And then the other one is usually a reminder of when my mom is angry, because she likes to do the spell out my whole name.
Oh, Jennifer?
She's angry. Yeah, she'll use my whole name when she's angry. So it's like, oh, okay. I kind of associate that one with I'm in trouble somehow.
Yeah, I get the same thing with me when my mom calls me by my full first name too. Same deal. It's like, oh.
Sandra says it. I don't think anything of it, but like,
I'm too old to get in trouble with my parents, so it's fine.
A bunch of people have dropped in. Hello, Mike R. Devil Fruit Zero, welcome. Mr. Adam, our Monday streamer. Johnny Hellcat, our Thursday streamer. Such support from the minions. I love you guys. Hi, Mash. How are you? I guess everybody's seen Kiever Dame around. He's taking a break.
I think she's been taking a break from the internet.
Oh, okay.
that's not a bad thing. You know,
No, you need to do that. Yeah.
I think it was stressing her out, so she needed a break. So yeah.
I mean, even I haven't really focused on much of the news. Obviously, there's the stuff that happened yesterday because everyone's focusing on it. But I admit, I downloaded a Hobo Tough Life, and I've been a little bit obsessed with it because, for one thing, my poor hobo died crapping him. Well, he didn't even crap. He got lost finding the bathroom, and so he died constipated. That poor man.
It's a pretty bad way to go.
Yeah.
All things being equal. Hey, Frosted, how you doing? Yeah, so did you guys want to get in a topic, or if we do, we probably should do b-ball first, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the shorter topic. So once that's out of the way, the other one will probably dominate the stream.
Everybody's piling in. Welcome, Old Guy Gamer. Yeah, Covenant's probably going to cover a lot of stuff, so let's go with b-ball first. I don't know the names. I probably should have done some more research on this, but there are a couple of, I guess, college basketballs. Maybe it's high school, but I think it's college basketball teams that played against each other, and in the congratulations line at the end of the game, two people got into a match with each other, or got pissed at each other. I don't have the details, but there really isn't any details available anyway. But the blue team, one of the members of the blue team, a little bit on the shorter, like a guard, punched a girl on the white team in the eye and knocked her down. Didn't knock her out. Girl could take a punch, but knocked her down, off balance kind of deal. And her eye swelled up and all that. And it was kind of viral on Twitter. And there's news of it on the major news websites, like I think it's on Fox News and CNN and crap like that, although it's not, obviously not the top story. And today's update on that is that she entered a plea, because it's assault. She entered a plea of not guilty. The entire thing is clearly available on tape, beginning to end. And she entered a plea of not guilty. I don't know how she's going to beat this, because she winds up in a whack right in front of everybody. So there's witnesses, there's video. Why do people do this?
I would be curious to see what the argument made by the defense is even going to be. Because as you say, everything is caught on film. So they just show the video and it's like, oh, okay. Like, how do you argue your way out of that?
Maybe she said something that prompted it. But I mean, even that being true, you still threw the first punch. It's still assault. Doesn't change anything. Maybe a lesser sentence.
I guess. I don't know like how, the details of how the court system works. Maybe by pleading not guilty, they're gonna try and argue to a lesser charge.
I would think it would be the other way around. Just say, "Oh, I'm guilty. I'll give you a guilty plea if you'll just give me a lesser sentence." I think.
Well, that's what I would expect. Like normally, if you plead guilty, you get a lesser sentence than if you plead not guilty. But maybe they're going to say, "Well, we've been charged with X crime. We're not guilty of that. We're going to argue that we're only guilty of Y crime, which is, less serious." Maybe that's their plan. I don't know.
Spud in chat says, "Hammer fighting words doctrine." I know what the fighting words doctrine is. I don't understand how that would apply here.
So the take that I got from a couple of the black conservatives that I watched, like the black conservative and Officer Tatum, was that she probably didn't say anything at all to begin with. She probably just said good game. The girl in question, it was her last game of the season. By losing that game, it was the last game of the season. She did it because she was petty and angry.
It put them out of contention for postseason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you really, it's one of those things where you're going to have to rewatch the video or get a different angle of the video, but you're going to see they're not saying anything past what everybody else is saying going through that line. She just can't handle her anger issues. There are so many kids right now, not just in the colored community, but all over the place, who have anger issues. Like, there's been a couple of people on the Twitter, and I admit I took a break because I got tired of it. Like, they're not wrong, but they're posting the times where you see it in the black community, because there's a lot of anger coming out of the black community. So you see kids just snapping and then beating the shit out of other kids. It's not new.
Maybe it was like part of a strategy. If you beat up everyone who win, like who is better than you at basketball, people are going to let you win, and then you get the career that you always dreamed of.
I suggest a new strategy: let the wiki win.
But it's a lot of what this is. It's this petty stuff. They're not learning how to deal with their anger. So I'm sorry, the court system is probably going to have to slap her a little bit. She's already technically been punished.
They could change the. She could still plead down a little bit because they gave her assault. I think there is a simple assault that's not as bad. So
well, I think. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I think simple assault is to differentiate it from aggravated assault, which is like far more serious.
That is more serious.
Like, I don't think she planned it out. I do think it was heat of the moment.
Probably.
But it was still petty. This is still somebody who doesn't know how to handle her anger. And I don't have a say over how the system runs anywhere. But if I were to punish her with anything, it would be like maybe a little bit of time cleaning up garbage and then anger classes. Because she's still a young girl. If she's like that over a game, she's going to be like that in real life. Only maybe not so violent. Like maybe she smartens up because that's expensive.
No. You chop her hand off and she won't punch anyone ever again.
Yeah, like it's stuff like this where like I get part of the anguish, but at the same time though, if I was a parent in the black community, I'd be like, yeah, give her some anger management issues because she's petty.
Yeah, I mean, people get out of hand. They let their emotions run their lives, and it happens. But
yeah,
I just find it really ridiculous that she would try to plead not guilty. My thought would be like, well, I'll plead guilty if you give me a lesser or a smaller suspended sentence. Maybe not, 30 days in jail. Maybe give me, 20 days home. What do they call it? Home when you do your sentence at home. What do they call that?
At house arrest.
House arrest. Thank you. Try to get out of that kind of thing. That maybe she could still go to school. You can get out of house arrest just to go to school and go back home. You can't play in the team. But I mean, if it was their last game anyway, I guess that really doesn't matter.
But playing not guilty is just wasting time for the court system, because like everybody already, like, they have video of it. I wouldn't be surprised if they have more than one video. There's always more than one video.
Yeah.
I think given that people are going to make this racial anyway, just lean into it. Make her sentence picking cotton.
I disavow. Yeah, JB, you're right. It is very unsportsmanlike. But at least her team, I guess it was her team's coach, came out and grabbed her and pulled her away right away, so it didn't escalate into anything serious. I have been seeing an awful lot of fights on my stream lately.
I've got the solution. You play every basketball game by Zoom. That way, they're in different homes, far away from each other. They aren't able to hit each other.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how you put the ball in the hoop and who defends you. That must be.
But just play like NBA Jam. That instead of playing it on the field, just play NBA Jam against each other.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that she's trying to plead not guilty is going to cause her more punishment, because it shows that she has a lack of ability to take accountability for her own actions. Yeah. Those are things that they take into account, because that shows that you're a little bit dangerous to society.
Yeah. If you just up and say, hey, it was my bad, I did it, heat of the moment, blah, 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 a judge is more likely to say, all right, well, don't do it again. Get out of here, kind of deal.
And remember, she's a woman. She's not allowed to be accountable for anything.
And that's a problem. That's a problem that she's been fed that garbage by somebody. And here's the thing. No, you are held accountable for your actions. At the end of the day, if you commit a crime, they don't give a shit. Even your own parents will be like, yeah, okay, listen, we don't agree with it. We'll try to help you with it, but because you're going to go downhill from there.
Yeah.
That's why I do wish we had a system with reform that actually worked. It's just sometimes the person has to want the reform too. And that's the other thing that the left has to understand. Not everybody wants the reform. Some people have a chip on their shoulder that they just want to hold on to.
Yeah.
That's sadly true.
If you saw the look on her face, I don't know if you saw the video. If you look at the look on her face, she looks like she wants to fight somebody. There's no two ways about it. She's pissed. Ooh.
I
Hi, Lisa.
haven't seen the video, so I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, you could see it in her face. She's ready to keep going. The actual punch wasn't that good, though.
I mean, if you punch someone out basically for no reason, I'm going to assume that there was anger behind the eyes.
But she looked like she wanted to keep going. She was like, it's a good thing I came out and grabbed her. But in all honesty, I mean, I understand the other girl getting knocked down, but the punch was actually...
If they grabbed her, she can go #me too.
But looking at the punch, I mean, I don't even know if I would have noticed. It was not much of a punch.
Right.
So
she's a basketball player, not a boxer, basically.
Right. It doesn't look like she's spent any real serious time learning how to defend herself or anything like that.
Right.
So which says heat of the moment again,
Part of it, like I said, it's not so much that it's a painful act, because it probably hurt a little bit, but it's more of the shock than the pain. But it's also where she did it. Like right in front of everybody at the end of a game where all eyes are on her, no shit's given. I'm just going to hit this person. Yeah, that's part of the reason she got punished.
Yeah. Her head did snap back, but I think it was just because she wasn't prepared for it. It was a sucker punch.
Yeah, it's a shock.
Yeah.
You're not expecting someone to hit you. You're expecting someone to shake your hand and say, good game.
Yeah, you're tired from the game. You're already kind of like dehydrated and exhausted, and someone whaps you in the face. You're going to lose your balance. At least if you're a girl, you're going to lose your balance.
But But yeah,
she was short too. She punched her. She had to punch up. Theater.
That probably took some of the
It was like
strength
a
out of the
guard
punch,
versus a forward. It's like she almost couldn't reach her face.
It'd be funny to like, I'm going to go get a box to stand on. Wait right there.
Wait right here. I'll be right back. Don't move. That would be funny. Well, I'm glad it didn't escalate. I'm glad that was just one shot and it was over, because you start seeing benches clear. You're like, oh boy, that's bad.
And speaking of shot.
What?
No, there's the next topic.
Oh, do you want to move on?
No. I was just that was just the segue that made my brain formed. It was like it was one shot, and speaking of shot.
Yeah, actually, speaking of shot, before we get to the shooting, I watched a video today from John Campbell. I've mentioned him before on the stream. If anybody's not out there watching this guy, he is what they call in Spud's neck of the woods a nurse, but he has a doctorate, and his life has been is mostly research and teaching nurses, the same kind of nurses that we know, how to deal with patients and that kind of thing. And he's very knowledgeable. I mean, the guy's easily older than me. And he's just been around in the field forever, and he's well respected, and he has a YouTube channel, and he was very big during COVID. But he's if you've watched him for a while, you get the sense that he's a very honest person, because during COVID, he kind of kept the company line. He was telling people wear masks and all that kind of stuff. But as some of those things are now, how do I say this, coming under some criticism, that sounds good, right? I'm not going to get nailed for that.
I think he'll be fine.
He's kind of led the fight for it too. He has been, I don't understand how he's still on YouTube. The only thing I could think of is he does the same kind of thing that I try to do, but he's much better at it, because he's doing face camera stuff and uploading videos, and he'll say stuff. It's very British humor. It's hilarious. He doesn't do it often, but every once in a while he'll say, like, because they say that wearing masks was an important way to take care of things, and he'll stop and he'll look at the camera, and he'll just look at the camera and then look at the camera and look at the camera, and they'll say, but what do I know? And it'll move on another. And I like humor in all places, but British humor is I enjoy it so much. American humor it's much different than British humor. But I guess because I'm not exposed to British humor as much living here, that kind of deal, that I find British humor significantly more of a belly laugh for me than most of the stuff I see in America. It's because it's like tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff, It's implied humor.
Well, that is one thing I do give them a lot of credit for. Americans tend to be a bit too obvious about the punchline.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on English comedy, so that's kind of what I expect from comedy. And when Americans just outright state the punchline, it kind of like, you could have gotten away with being a bit more subtle.
I'm kind of like you too. I did grow up with old British humor, and all. Actually, old Canadian humor was similar to British humor. It's funny. It's almost like we were a colony or something. But I watched Blackadder the other day with Peter Almond, and that last episode, in all honesty,
which season? So I know
the last season, the closing season,
the World War One.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last. So you go through the whole. You could go through the whole thing and they have you up and down with laughs because you get what they're going for. And in that one last episode, it took them 3 minutes to point out why the war was fucked up.
Yeah.
It took them 3 minutes to basically be like, yeah, you guys fell in love with us. We're all dead now.
Mm-hmm.
That's acting that I just, I rewatching it. It's just I miss real acting, good acting.
In fairness, Blackadder dies at the end of every season except for one. So people who had watched the show from the start should have known Blackadder was going to die.
Yeah.
They may not have expected everyone to die, but it was kind of like an established thing that Blackadder always dies at the end of the season.
But it's just, like I said, it's just the level of, I can get you roaring with laughter, have you completely charmed, have you pissed off at me, and then have you emotional within a 30-minute period. And that's stuff that I miss. I just do. And it's not that Americans don't have it in them. They absolutely do. It's just everything lately, and it's us too. It's not just you. It's political. There's no point in going to see anything because it's not going to be about what you're going to see. It's going to be about somebody else's politics.
Mm-hmm.
And the lack of acting, the lack of emotion, the lack of storytelling, it's desperately missing. Yeah. But yeah, Stephen Fry. There were so many people in that show. Oh my God, that was such a flashback.
I think the point he's making is very real because he's saying that in Animal House, the American comedian is John Belushi, the British comedian is a guitar player. And I think that is a really big difference between the two is Americans will portray themselves as like the winner. And I think the British tend to be a little bit more, whether you want to say humble or self-loathing, I'll leave that to your discretion, but they're usually the butt of their own joke, whereas Americans tend to be more about, themselves being the winner of the exchange.
Spud's asking me about jumping on the stream.
Who?
Spud Gun.
Oh.
Problem is, I haven't updated OBS for 4 players in Rumble. I really can't do 4 people without some kind of heads up. But what we can do is if you want to type what you want to type, I'll read it.
I think the point is it's going to be more than the character limit on YouTube will allow. I think that's his.
Well, you can type in multiple statements.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think that's probably why he wants to come on rather than submit, like 5 messages in a row.
Yeah, it's going to be a pain in the ass to keep typing. How you doing, Shroom? Welcome to the show, man. Yeah. You know what I do when I have a lot to type? You might see it when I'm on Twitter. Is I just push the microphone button and say it, and then send it. It's not always very correct when it comes to spelling.
No,
but my fingers my hands get so sore. I'm on Twitter entirely too much, and my hands are all fucked up. So for me to type in Twitter, whenever I think, okay, this is going to require a paragraph, I just hit the microphone button and just say it instead.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know what kind of platform you're on, Spud. If you're on your phone.
Oh, there he is. He's going to DM it to you.
DM me. That's fine. Yeah, if you get a blue check mark,
that solves the character limit issue. He can just write the full thing out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's got Twitter Blue, he can write the entire thing out.
Yeah, but
he's going to have to
pay Elon.
I'm going to do it. I think. If nothing more than just for a week to see what it's like, because supposedly you get an edit button with it.
You do.
Cool. That's got to be cool. Because how many times have you seen me send tweets out that are all fucked up?
You can fix them.
I'll be able to fix them before they go out. Hey, Cynic, how's it going? Welcome to the show. I just shaved my beard off. No, don't shave your beard off.
No, I'm going to quote the Matt Walsh theme song. Is like, if you're a man, it's required that you grow a beard. Hey, we're the Sweet Baby Gang.
So Costin is talking about something about improvements to the safe third country agreement. Probably I'm blaming it on New York. blame the New York mayor. He wants to send your refugees up here, and it's kind of like, listen, they're not going to go to a better place, which is why you should keep them or send them. I know this is controversial, but
I
send
don't even
them
know what it is.
home.
No, I've got no idea.
Yeah. I'm not saying that because I don't want people moving here. I'm just saying that we have a problem with it too.
Well,
yeah,
well,
I don't know what the story's about in particular. Apparently, they're wanting.
As I understand it, if they come from a country that they're fleeing and they go through a country that's safe but still want to get to us, we could say no. The reason you're fleeing is because it's unsafe where you are, but you've run into an area before the United States that was safe. So coming to us and saying, I want to be safe, doesn't apply.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I understand it, but I wasn't sure if that's what because I wasn't aware of any agreement.
Between us, that's how it. Between us, that's how it has been.
Okay.
Like if
I thought it was
something.
I thought it was like a law that we had done, or what do they call it when the president executive? What's that thing you do? When
executive order or
executive order? Yeah, I thought it was an executive order that says this is what we're going to do. I thought Trump started it, but it wasn't an actual law. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys know?
Me, no. I don't know the details.
I don't know. Jen, you're probably going to be the authority because I mean, that's what I thought it was, but I don't know if that's true or not.
My understanding is that's how it has been. Like the exception is, back during, what was it? Not World War II. I think it was the Korean War. No, not the Korean War. We were still in that one. The one afterwards, Vietnam.
We were in that one too.
So during Vietnam, no, we weren't.
You weren't. We were. Gotcha.
You were. So the thing is, with the Vietnamese War, we did have people crossing the border with claims that their life was at risk because they're fleeing. They don't want to be conscripted. They don't want to be soldiers. They don't want to go to Vietnam. Right. They don't want to die. So in that sense, there was a little bit of a weird. I don't know if it was just at the time they were playing politics or something, but that's not what this is. This is people coming up to the U.S. and they're thinking they're going to get a better deal in the U.S. And then they realize that, well, some of the places that they're being put up with in the U.S. are actually really fucking dangerous and kind of really hard to live in, because cities are actually surprisingly hard to live in. Yeah. They're expensive. They're hard to get your feet up off the ground. There's a limit on space. If you're in a low income situation, yeah, you're lucky if you get a shelter. So a lot of these refugees get the space in the shelters that should be going towards our homeless. So if we don't have space for you, we don't have space for you. Like I know for a fact that they're probably using one of our refugees for a bunch of, Ukrainians, which I still think is a little bit outrageous. Sorry, Ukraine, but you're kicking our homeless native population out. Good job, liberals.
Well, I'm reading chat about this, and apparently this is not American law. This is, oh geez, Frost, you're killing me. This is like international law. Mm-hmm. and I reading what Costa says. Maybe we could talk about it next week. We could talk about it now. We don't know what it is. So if you want to explain it, if I'm wrong, or if I'm saying something that's not correct, feel free to correct me. But I thought that's what it was, Costin. So if you know more detail and you're willing to type it out, go right ahead. Hey, Addie.
It's a lot of people wanting to move people around, and there's a lot of people who have this idea that we're kind of like Hollywood, like the average person living in Canada, the average person living in the US is like the fabricated Hollywood version. And it's like, no, actually the average person right now is busting their balls to keep their shit together so that they don't end up being homeless like the other homeless people. Not to say that to throw shade to the homeless people, but we're breaking under the weight of our leaders right now. So when we're saying no, think of it as our way of saying, save yourself somewhere else. because you're going to die freezing to death, starving to death, frustrated because you just want a job, and there's still a job shortage. So
we should just send all of our immigrants to Canada.
Right?
Freeze our asses off.
Right?
Hey, Cannibalistic Wizard. How you doing?
Yeah,
it's not real. It's just French propaganda.
Yeah, I corrected him. Canada is real. Australia isn't.
Yeah, well, actually, Australia is not on any globes or anything like that. So they keep forgetting about you and the Kiwis all the time. I don't know why. It's like a huge land.
I know why they forget about the Kiwis. No one needs to think about them.
It's not that you don't exist. It's more like you're an alternate universe. Like you go from North America or Europe, and then even Africa, and then you go to Australia and New Zealand, and you're like, wow, what happened here? You got cut off from everything else. That's basically it. But yeah, it's just the species are so completely different. Like rats everywhere in all their various shapes and sizes. And what happens when you leave a bunch of rats on an island for forever and they turn into kangaroos?
New Zealand is just Australians with speech impediments.
Right.
I'm looking at the way Australia is right now today. I'm surprised any human beings managed to survive. You guys are a hardy group down there.
Yeah.
Costin says, I want to make sure I get what he's saying here. There was a loophole. If someone managed to get across between border crossings, that country would have to take that person. The announcement that the loophole was closed was announced during Biden's visit here. Visit here. I don't want to dox you, Costin. Where is here?
He's in Ottawa.
Oh, he's in Ottawa?
Mm-hmm. I might be wrong about that. You might be from Toronto, but I think he said Ottawa.
Well, okay, because now I'm really confused because I didn't know he was Canadian.
Yeah, there's lots of us.
He is.
We pop up.
Yeah, I've seen his videos. He doesn't sound Canadian to me. Sorry, Costin, you don't sound Canadian enough to me to be Canadian.
Does he kind of sound like he's from New York?
He's got a very heavy voice. He's got a kind of a sexy masculine voice. Have you ever watched any of his videos? He's you should probably.
I don't think I have actually.
No. But anyway, yeah, I've never heard of it, but I don't really. Am I supposed to know international law? We're just friends talking. What the fuck, I don't know any of that kind of stuff, but. That's what you guys are here for. Tell me about international law because I don't fucking know. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%, Jen. They're coming from areas typically that have a much warmer climate than we do, and they're probably not ready for it. I don't see anybody coming over with thick jackets on. Everybody's coming over in t-shirts and jeans.
It's. Like I said about this stupid little game that I'm playing where I'm playing a hobo, the amount of times I die is because I don't know where I am. And the country is going from something you can kind of live outside in to something that's going to freeze overnight. And it's daily. Every day it freezes overnight and it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. When people come here, they usually do the research first. And sometimes they try it out and they can't bear with it. When they say overbearing weight of weather, a lot of people can't handle our weather. Just the same as I really couldn't handle Terry's weather, to be frank. I still go to visit.
I live in the Northeast and I can't handle your weather either. I'm not that far from Canada.
I would need air conditioning if I went to Australia.
You and me both.
But it's also. Like when I say infrastructure that's gone downhill, I mean, we're not really building new stuff. There's a lot of places that they're putting people up in, and I've known about those places my whole life. Outside of the times where I was an infant and can't remember them, yeah, a lot of those buildings are still there. And I can remember some of the ones from when I was an infant because they are still there. When you're talking old infrastructure, I am questioning how they're putting people up. Because I don't think that they're doing anyone... I don't think they're being honest with people. I really don't. Like we were doing okay 10 years ago, but 10 years ago we had excess money. In all honesty, all it takes is 10 years for a decent place to become a shithole. That's all it takes. And I know places in my own city, and we're pompous. You know, I will call my own city out. We are pompous as shit, and money is not in my city. It's not. It's not going to places where it should. It's not going to our homeless. So if you're sending refugees out here, well, you know, the only ones that seem to be doing okay are the Ukrainians, and that's probably because I'm going to call it. Maybe they are kind of a little bit racist, or maybe it's just they had a better grasp of the language or something, or they have an idea of what it is they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But some of them are getting away with shit that they shouldn't.
I don't know if it's true, but I heard on Twitter that some Ukrainian refugees want to go back after living in America for a while.
Well, like I said,
get us out of here.
They've over glamatized what isn't reality. It's like people going to Japan and then speaking like they're an anime character.
Yeah,
you know, like reality isn't always what they present to you. You know,
I almost had to sing that to get that kind of sound out of my throat.
The real reason people go to Japan is because they think the age of consent is 12.
Yeah.
But
quickly, Frosted Glass and Old Guy Gamer are talking about where they live and where I live. I'm in Northeast Pennsylvania, so I'm on the East Coast. To answer Old Guy Gamer, I don't know how close I am to Frosted. If he's in Northeast, I'm in what is called NEPA, Northeast PA, NEPA. So I'm about. If you ever watched the TV show, the American TV show, not the British one, The Office with Steve Carell, or used to be Steve Carell, that's filmed in Scranton, and that's about a half an hour from me. So that's where I'm at generally.
See, the only reason I've heard of Scranton is because of the Fresh Prez of DC, which I forget the name, Kyle Dunnigan had like his own thing on YouTube where he made fun of Biden, but he presented it as if it was a sitcom, and it's like the theme song was "Born and Raised in Scranton, PA." That's the only reason I've heard of Scranton is that theme song.
It is
Fresh Prez of DC.
It is an odd place, and being all around Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania has a lot of different flavors depending where you are. Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, they're all much different from each other. The language changes within one state. The language changes, or at least the accent does, and the attitude of the people is much different in different places. And Scranton is different than everything else. Even cities that are close by Scranton, like Wilkes-Barre, it's much different to walk the streets of Scranton and then walk the streets of Wilkes-Barre. They're much different cities. So
it says he's from WA, so that's clearly Western Australia. And then Frosted is in MA, which I'm guessing is Meston, Australia. So
old guy's West Coast, Washington State, and Frosted's in Maine, MA.
I think he's in Massachusetts. I think.
Well, there's so many M's out there. There's Missouri, Massachusetts, Maine. How many M's are there? Mississippi.
From having spoken to him like in pre-stream, I'm pretty sure he said he's from Massachusetts.
Okay.
Oh goodness, so you could be at Toronto, but you know what? You're also not too far from where my cousins are, and my grandmother, who can't remember who I am. Hi, Costin. You think I know my own province is better, but then you look into Ontario and you realize that Ontario is a gigantic thing in the middle of our country. No offense, it's just huge. It's big.
Yeah.
We could cut that in half. I'm just saying there's a reason why the US does that.
I misread Frosted's thing. Is it where it says Maine-ME? I thought he was saying me. I was like, wait.
It's me. I'm in Maine. No.
I'm also not meaning to cut your province in half, Costin. It's just when I look at the size, I'm like, doesn't that cause you like? I'm pretty sure that causes you guys problems. The same as California. It's not that California is huge. It's just you can tell that there's one group of people in the whole state that's making decisions for everybody else. Ontario has similar problems, which is why they won't cut themselves in half.
Do we have two people in Washington? Am I reading that right? Olga Gamers in WA. That's Washington State, right? WA.
I would assume so.
Right. No,
I don't know
it's
any other
just-
states that
okay.
would be viable candidates for WA as the
No,
abbreviation.
it's not like MA or ME or MI or MS. Oh my God, I'm so confused. I was never really great with geography anyway, so.
I couldn't even do Terry's. I'm like, are you guys provinces still, or is it state?
Oh, they're provinces.
Okay.
In Australia, we have what, six states and
Yeah.
2 territories.
How many can you name, Jen?
Australia?
Yeah. I can only name a couple.
No. I'm
No?
more likely to I'm probably more likely to label a city than necessarily a province.
I mean,
They're actually states. I was kidding.
they are states.
States, okay.
You're the provinces.
They're not very creatively named. So you've got.
Oh, wait a minute. You
Queensland-
can't tell me. I have to make some guesses first.
Oh, okay.
And if you get a city, that's fine, Jen, but I want to see how much you can do because I'm going to try to do the same thing. So you go first. I'll go. Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go ahead. That
Okay.
means I can cheat.
So there's the Northern Territory, right?
Yes.
And then there's Tanzania. I'm trying to go up the coast.
Did you say Tanzania? That's
Not Tanzania.
that's an African country, isn't it?
Tasmania. Sorry,
That's it.
that's my stroke talking. Relax. And then I'm probably gonna hit cities because I know like Queensland, Sydney, Melbourne.
Sydney and Melbourne are cities.
Okay, in what state are they in?
Sydney is in New South Wales. Melbourne's in Victoria.
All right, I wouldn't have got those anyway. So I only got 2. Oh, what about Perth is on the west coast. What's the state that it's in? I don't know. I can't remember.
It's. Do you want me to tell you, or do you want Jen to guess?
Well, Jen, guess. I took the first shot.
I wouldn't be guessing because I kind of looked it up, got a basic.
Oh, come on.
And it was like
Peter
Western
Cheater
Australia,
Demonator.
Northern Territory, Queensland, Australia, New South Wales, Melbourne. I didn't know that Tasmania was still part of that. I thought they were claiming themselves as themselves.
They're in the bottom right corner.
We're still in Tasmania.
Okay.
I kind of know where some things are. I know what's on the coast by cities and all that kind of stuff. But I remember I said Tanzania before. Tasmania in the bottom right corner. I know that because there's a lot of indigenous people there, and we had a huge discussion with Claudia about it. That's why I didn't forget it. And of course, one of my favorite people in Australia is on the west coast, and so that's the reason why I remembered Perth.
Well, it's Western Australia. There's a reason that I made that the joke acronym for WA when who was it saying that they were from there?
Spud, did you remember all those, or did you look it up too?
Let me see if I can find it.
And he's actually wrong. It's South Australia, not Southern Australia. So one of them is wrong.
He got more than I got, so I can't give him shit.
So he got one wrong, but the rest of them are correct.
Yeah, you still won. You still beat us all. With the help of Google, no doubt. Yeah, so I mean, I can picture your country in my head, and I can picture where these landmarks are in my head. I just don't know. The only reason I know the Northern Territory is because it binds both coasts. That's the only reason I remember, and it's huge. It's probably the biggest part of Australia, isn't it?
Western Australia is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the only reason why I remember it.
Western Australia is like half the country.
Tier's in chat. Hey, Tier. I didn't see him.
See, I would have gotten it wrong anyway because I for some reason think Brisbane. I get that confused with the Queensland. For some reason, I keep thinking Queensland is the capital city when it's Brisbane. I get the two confused. But
you're pronouncing it like an American. It's Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Yeah.
I would. The other thing too is this map that I've now looked up just because I was trying to is reframing from telling me the capital city of the world where the most weirdest deaths occur. And I know it's an Australian town, but they're like, no, you can't know this name. You have to go remember what what documentary you found that on? Because one of your cities has like the biggest capital for weirdest murders. Not most murders, just weirdest ones.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
Well, how about we switch up the conversation a little bit and try to get to Covenant. That way we end the show on something very cheerful.
There you go.
That was sarcastic. And really, I probably want to take a little bit different tack on this. We all know about the shooting. We know people who perished. We know about the assailant. We know all about that. We've seen the videos. I assume you guys have seen the cop videos, the body cams.
I've been avoiding some of that because I've heard enough of a description of one of the captures that I just don't want to see that.
Well, it wasn't a capture.
Not the capture, but one of the scenes where they caught one of the scenes where she shot a kid.
They did?
They have a scene of her shooting one of the kids.
No kidding. I haven't seen that.
It's one of those things where, somebody posts it and it just takes whether it's on Twitter or on Reddit, it takes them just long enough to find it. But, they were putting that around, which means it's out there. And I just don't get me wrong. I don't want to see that. I'm sorry.
No,
I get that happened.
No.
I acknowledge that it happened. It did.
What I'm asking about is the body cams from the police. Have you seen that footage?
No.
No. Terry, have you seen it?
No, I've not really. I've seen people talking about the shooting.
Yeah.
I've not seen footage.
It's a bunch of cops going in, like they should have done in Uvalde. A bunch of cops going in and tactically clearing rooms like you would from a military perspective. I don't know if you've ever seen military, how they clear rooms, but one guy faces back, one guy moves past the door, faces forward, that whole process, and clearing room by room until they hear the gunshot. Then they immediately go upstairs because that's where the shots are coming from. And they move quickly down the hallway, clearing rooms very, very fast. So he's just kind of in and out of the room and setting a guy behind him and then moving on. They don't waste any time until they find the shooter in the corner. And they come around the corner and he says, stop. And there's not even like a full second. And he shoots him and puts him down. So there wasn't, once he was in the sights, he had about another second to 2 seconds worth of life in that. That was it. And they didn't aim for his leg. I'll just put it that way.
Well, I mean, good. She's, or he, if I've got to play by YouTube rules, is a scumbag and the world is better off without her/him.
Yeah.
It's also, if they hadn't, she would have kept going.
Oh, yeah. She had full intention to keep going. Absolutely.
And that's the part that they're not wanting to release. Like that manifesto, they've got that under locks. But
I just lost power.
I'm just going to point out real quick for everybody.
It's back.
I will never, ever take this out on innocent trans people. I've said this before on Pat's stream. There are bad people in every community because we're all human. At the end of the day, what makes us different is very slim. It's little things that make us different, which means that every community has people who are so nutters that they don't care if they shoot you. They don't care if they shoot your kids. They're just bad people in this planet. That's not every trans person. That's not every gay person. That's not every Christian person or Muslim person or any person. Any person. But when we refuse to acknowledge that some people are fucked up, we encourage it because we're not stopping them, and I don't think that this person represents the trans community, but I do think they represent the activist part of the community because some of those folks have gone into a cult mentality that, on Pat's stream, I did compare them to Muslims. No offense, Muslim community, because I've met a lot of people who were great people that I don't mind having as a neighbor. But there are people in that community who would take a bus and drive through 200 people happily.
Did you guys
I think the same thing applies. I mean, it's not the Muslims that are the problem. It's the Muslim activists. In the same way,
It's always the
trans people
activists.
as a
Yeah.
whole are not the problem. Trans activists are the problem.
Yeah, I spent some time not making that distinction, and I think I got some of my trans friends pissed at me when I said that, but it's always been the activists. But just quickly,
Yes.
did you guys notice anything happen to the stream when the power went out?
No.
Nope. Smooth as pie.
I specifically set up.
That the power went out, and I didn't notice anything happen. So I thought, okay, must have been.
Yeah, I have everything.
I thought it was a false alarm.
No, everything went out for about 5 seconds, maybe 7 seconds. But I have things set up specifically so that if I did lose power during a stream, that we shouldn't lose it. But I never tested it because the power never went out. I'm not going to go downstairs into the breaker room and turn it off just to see. So I'm very happy that the things I did to make sure that the stream would not get interrupted if there was a power outage actually worked.
So Spud said he sent you something in your DMs.
Yes, he did. Let me read it real quick.
And also, people in
Wow.
chat are getting quite insistent that we refer to the shooter as a she. And as I said, I think this is probably playing safe by YouTube rules by using the preferred pronouns.
It's also because I'm a little bit confused about the whole thing, and I blame the media on that entirely. I do think she's a trans going towards male.
Yeah,
she is a biological female who prefers he, him pronouns.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I've always taken a little bit to get used to that kind of stuff. So if I slip up, that's probably my own learning disability. Thank you very much. I get things backwards.
If anybody's ever listened to me on Twitter, you know how much I care about pronouns. I don't care. I'm very insistent about sex, but not, in more ways than one. Get it? No, but yeah, I don't know. Her, he, I don't give a shit.
I will confess to my sins. I kept he gendering Eve's girlfriend because I'm not used to the accent. And so my brain picks up on little things. I will never tell her that because that's a me problem. I'm your friend. I can show you love and respect for little things that I can do. And honestly, she's a hot girl.
Has anything to do with the stream did go off. Everything else in the house went off, but my monitor